Mary Jo Martin with Mincron. We are here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. This is my friend, Jay Dobyns, and it was such an honor to introduce him today to the Mincron User Group. He was our keynote speaker. And Jay, you had quite a career as a federal law enforcement officer. You were a special agent with ATF, and you have amazing stories. But so first of all, thank you on behalf of the Grateful Nation for everything you've done for us.
Thanks for having me.
You got a standing ovation today, too. You really hit it out of the park.
Very flattering and very kind.
It was awesome. You had some really key points today that you emphasized that related not only to your career, but what they can use in business. So talk a little bit about that.
I think so much of what I've done in my life translates to the business world. We're problem solvers, and that's what I did. That's what anybody that's successful in any aspect of life does. Through faith, having faith in a higher power, in God, or faith in yourself, being patient in your pursuit of whatever your endeavors are, maintaining a positive attitude, and being resilient. And if you can do those four things in life, in relationships, in your personal life, in business, as an employee, you'll be successful.
Well, you're very humble, and I know that you don't always like to talk about yourself a lot, but I just need to set the stage a little bit for our viewers here and maybe use a couple of these points to talk about it. So first of all, you started out as wanting to be a football player, and so you ended up and had a very successful career, but talk about some of that hard work and the resiliency that went along with that.
I think my athletic career that preceded my law enforcement career was a great stage setter because sports, like life, knock you to your knees. They knock you down. And people that are successful find a way to get up, struggle back to their feet. Sometimes it's easier or harder than others, but that's the key to being good at whatever it is you do. You've got to get up because it's never going to be perfect. You're going to get knocked to your knees, and you've got to find a way to find a new motive, start over, and get your motor running again.
And then you transitioned. You went from football and all these adoring fans that were cheering for you in a stadium to becoming a law enforcement officer in some of the grittiest situations that none of us can really imagine. Tell us the story that you started out with today about what happened before you got your first paycheck.
I was on the job for 4 days. I got hired on a Monday, and I got taken hostage and shot through and through in the chest on a Thursday. The bullet went in my back, and it passed through my lung, and it exited my chest. And it was a very difficult, dramatic way to start my career. But it's not just me. It's anybody that carries a badge and a gun on behalf of our country. It's the men and women who are soldiers out there. It's the first responders. It's the public servants who find a greater good. They have a purpose for a greater good in their life. And so there was another situation where I had to get up, and it empowered me. It made me feel stronger, the fact that I was able to go through that and survive it and continue on.
Right. And the surgeon that operated on you became the U.S. Surgeon General.
The trauma surgeon when I got shot was Dr. Richard Carmona, who was the trauma surgeon in Tucson. And he ultimately became the Surgeon General of the United States under President Bush.
And a lot of people don't know, you could have actually just taken retirement at that point, but you chose to go on.
I was 25 years old, and I had lawyers begging me to let them take my case. And they were promising me millions of dollars. At 25 years old, I didn't know what $1 million was. It didn't mean anything to me. It was nothing I had ever planned for. What I had planned for was to try to be the best lawman that I could be. And so it wasn't a hard decision for me. It wasn't something that I struggled with because I knew what I wanted to do. And I never wanted to chase money.
Probably your biggest claim to fame, and at least through your book and what's going to be coming out as a movie soon, is that you actually infiltrated the Hells Angels, which is just unimaginable to most of us mere mortals.
I've had post-case death and violence threats. You know, my house was burned to the ground by people that were angry with me. But I've chosen to live with concern versus with fear. If I live in fear, they won. They control my life. They get to dictate to me like how I live, where I go, how I act. I live with concern instead. I know what they're capable of. I've seen firsthand the violence and intimidation that they bring. I'm concerned with that, but I don't hide. I live my life. I'm not looking for a problem. I don't want a problem. I'll turn my back and run away from a problem. Just don't corner me.
Yeah. Well, let's close it out on a kind of a personal note, if you don't mind sharing this. Your son and you are so close, and you had a tradition when you were actively on the road a lot of him giving you stones.
I think anybody that saw my presentation knows that it's not an I love me story. There's a lot of horror stories in it as far as my personal life. One of the biggest horror stories is one of the greatest stories, is that during my undercover work, I would come home and my son would give me small stones. For years I believed he was giving me good luck charms. He set me straight. He said they're not for good luck. They're for you to put in your pocket when you think someone's going to hurt you. You can touch that stone and you can feel it. It's like me being there with you, which is a very sad story for me. It's humiliating to think that an 8-year-old boy had to teach his father what my job was. But it's a great story because it reset my mind. It reset where my head was and reaffirmed to me that my job wasn't to be an undercover operative, or my job wasn't to infiltrate a group. My job was to try to raise good kids.
Well, thank you again so much
You're
for
very
everything you've
welcome.
done for our country, for all of us, for being my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you're going to be able to read a lot more about everything that happened here at the conference coming up very soon.